What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we have a reaction to Pulp, the iconic album Different Class, brought to us by a friend, longtime supporter and patron of the channel, Brian. Thank you, Brian. Brian has a great music channel, link below, and Brian's the guy who designed this banner right behind me, so kudos to Brian. Great friend and supporter of this channel. So I know two songs off this album because we had song reactions to them, but that's all we've done from Pulp somehow. We've done a lot of Oasis stuff, some Blur stuff, but Pulp somehow we just have never done it. I've never listened to this album. I only know those two songs, so I'm very much looking forward to this. I wasn't a huge fan of grunge in the 90s, and here in the States where I live, Britpop was not a huge thing. Oasis had a couple hits, but that was really it. So during this channel, as we've gone back through and been fortunate enough to do a bunch of stuff from this era, I just love this music. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Let's check out the quick facts, and then we'll jump into the album. I'm going to let you know before I even start here, the music won't be in the video. They'll block it if I put it in there. But there's a Vimeo link below. You can click on that and follow along with me, listen to the songs, all that good stuff. It's the best way to do it if you got the time. If you know this album inside and out, just want to know what I think, just hang around. All right, let's get into the quick facts. Fifth studio album released in October of 1995 by Island Records. Critical and commercial success, entering the UK album charts at #1 and winning the 1996 Mercury Music Prize. In 2013, NME ranked the album at #6 in its 500 greatest albums of all time. Rolling Stone's new list has it at 162 on the top 500 albums of all time. It was released in the UK at the height of Britpop. It followed from the success of their breakthrough album His and Hers the previous year. The inspiration for the title came to frontman Jarvis Cocker in Smashing, a club night that ran during the early 1990s in Eve's Club on Regent Street in London. Cocker had a friend who used the phrase different class to describe something that was in a class of its own. Jarvis liked the double meaning with its allusions to the British social class system, which was a theme of some of the songs on the album. A message on the back of the record also references this idea. Quote, "We don't want no trouble. We just want the right to be different. That's all." As I mentioned earlier, sky-high critical acclaim. All Music in The Guardian 5 out of 5 stars, NME 8 out of 10, Pitchfork 9.3 out of 10, Rolling Stone and Q 4 out of 5. This album is often considered the album which defines the era of Britpop better than any other, and has occupied the #1 position on several best Britpop album polls, including the Village Voice, BuzzFeed, Pitchfork, Spin. Exactly 20 years from its release, Complex magazine declared Different Class as, quote, "the most important Britpop album ever." All lyrics on this written by Jarvis, all music composed by Pulp, which is Jarvis, Nick Banks, Steve Mackey, Russell Sr., Candida Doyle, and Mark Webber, except Common People in Underwear. They're by Cocker, Banks, Mackey, Sr., and Doyle. I'll just get out of the way before we jump into it. Now, let's jump into this album. And you see it below. We're going to start out with Misshapes. Lyrically inspired by Cocker's experiences socializing in Sheffield as an outcast. The song features lyrics that call for misfits to unite and take over. Released as a double A-sided single with Sorted for Ease and Wizz, which will come on way later on in this album. The second single from Different Class after Common People. Like its predecessor, the single reached #2 in the UK charts and has since seen critical acclaim. Drummer Nick Banks summed up the song's message stating, quote, "What an opener, a call to arms, a rallying cry. Now is the time to storm the barricades. If you've ever been bullied, called a weirdo, hit, spat for being looking, or feeling different, this is your time." I think for most of us, we've experienced some of those things in our life. So Cocker talked about his experiences going to those clubs in Sheffield and how they inspired the lyrics. He said, "It was quite dangerous to go into the center of town on a weekend night, as everyone socialized there. You get these packs of blokes all dressed the same in the white short-sleeved shirt, black trousers, and loafers, and they'd call you a queer because they didn't like your jacket. The thing is, those people hunt in packs, whereas the misfits or misshapes, because of the fact that they're more individualistic, are easier targets." That's a great point, man. So the idea of misshapes is the fancy that the misfits would form some kind of an allegiance or army and take over. He reflected on the song's contradiction with the laddish audience the Britpop scene attracted. He said, quote, "All you can do is be as precise and be as good at what you do as possible and throw it out there. You can't control who goes into the shop and buys your records. You can't say, oh, we're going to move into a more mature market. People have to decide that. I mean, you write a song like Misshapes, and it should be perfectly clear that it's saying, quote, I don't like intolerant people. But it's become clear to me after that last tour that it goes over some people's heads. Townies were coming out to see us." The title, according to Cocker, originates from his mom buying misshaped chocolates. He said misshapes are these chocolates, and they used to have them in the sweet shop next to our house. They're the ones that had gone wrong in the factory. They were misshapen, kind of elephant man of the sweet world. You could buy them in a bag cheaper than a normal box of chocolates would be, and the taste is good. It's just aesthetically, they weren't that pleasing, so they seem to be a fairly reasonable metaphor. All right, man. Great story on this one. Let's kick it off. Thanks again, Brian. Misshapes. What a great album opener, man. Really enjoyed that. I mean, it's exactly what I talked about in the beginning, but pre-chorus, brothers, sisters, can't you see the future's owned by you and me? They won't be fighting in the street. They think they've got us beat, but revenge is going to be so sweet. And then, of course, we're making a move. We're making it now. We're coming out of the sidelines. Just put your hands up. It's a raid. Yeah, we want your homes. We want your lives. We want the things you want to allow us. We won't use guns. We won't use bombs. Use the one thing we've got more of. That's our minds. Fantastic song. And I mean, any of us who have ever been bullied or put down or didn't feel like the in crowd, like this is what I hated high school. You had that in crowd, which is a minority of people, right? A very few amount of people who sort of ran roughshod over the whole school. It's like, why did anybody ever allow that to happen, man? And it's that way in life as you get older, right? Governments or people in power, there's a very few amount of them, and they control everything. If everyone would unite, I'm not saying have a government uprising, but I'm saying against abusive power, if everyone would unite, you could do something about it. And that's what he's talking about here. So I think it's a fantastic way to start the album. Makes a big statement. Now we're going to go to Pencil Skirt. Don't have anything on this song. Let's check it out. All right, Pencil Skirt. We go from the gravity of Misshapes to the lightness of Pencil Skirt. I guess it's light as long as you aren't this girl's fiance, but basically it's just telling you when you raise your pencil skirt. I had to look up what a pencil skirt was, boys and girls. I didn't know. Just a slim, like long and slim skirt that fits or shaped like a pencil. Like a veil before my eyes, like the look upon his face as he's zipping up his flies. And we find out, oh, well, I know that you're engaged to him, but okay. But I know you want something to play with, baby. So he's, Jarvis is not pulling any punches here. And then, of course, I'll be around when he's not in town. Oh, yeah, I'll show you how you're doing it wrong. I really love it when you tell me to stop. Oh, it's turning me on. Maybe, the stop thing maybe wouldn't fly now, but in 1995, it wasn't taken literal. But, a fun little song. He's basically just saying, here, come get me. I don't care about your boyfriend. So now we're going to move to not only the iconic song on this album or the iconic song from Pulp, but some would argue the iconic song in all of Britpop. I told you we have an album, or we have a song reaction to this up, and it's one of our most watched videos. I think it's in the top 5, which we have almost 1,400 videos at the time of filming this. So, and also I will tell you, I've only listened to it that one time when we did the video. It's just one of those things where I don't have a lot of time to listen to music outside of all the videos that we film. But Common People, lead single number 2 in the UK. The song is a critique of gentrification and middle-class people wanting to be, quote, like common people, ascribing glamour to poverty. This phenomenon is referred to as slumming or class tourism. The idea for the song's lyrics came from a Greek art student whom Jarvis met while he was studying at the Central St. Martin's College of Art and Design. Jarvis had enrolled in a film studies course at the college in September of 1988 while taking a break from Pulp. He spoke about the song's inspiration to NME in 2013. He said, I'd met the girl from the song many years before when I was at St. Martin's College. I met her on a sculpture course, but at St. Martin's you had a thing called Crossover Fortnight where you had to do another discipline for a couple of weeks. I was studying film and she might have been doing painting, but we both decided to do sculpture for 2 weeks. I don't know her name. It would have been around 1988, so it was already ancient history when I wrote about her. In a 2012 Q&A session on BBC Radio 5 Live, Jarvis said that he was having a conversation with the girl at the bar at college because he was attracted to her, although he found some aspects of her personality unpleasant. He remembered that at one point she had told him she, quote, wanted to move to Hackney and live like the common people. Cocker used this phrase as a starting point for the song and embellished the situation for dramatic effect. For example, reversing the situation in the song when the female character declares that, quote, I want to sleep with common people like you. Cocker said that in real life he had been the one wanting to sleep with the girl while she had not been interested in him. Jarvis came up with the tune on a small Casio Tone MT500 keyboard he bought from the Music and Video Exchange shop in Notting Hill in West London. He thought the melody, quote, seemed kind of catchy, but I didn't think too much about it. When he played it at rehearsals to the other members of the band, most of them were unimpressed. Steve Mackey said it reminded him of Emerson, Lake and Palmer's 1977 hit single, Fanfare for the Common Man. Keyboardist Candida Doyle was the only member of the group who spotted the potential of the tune, saying, quote, I just thought it was great straight away. It must have been the simplicity of it. You could just tell it was a really powerful song. Cocker then wrote the lyrics inspired by his time in London. The song was first performed in public during the band set at the Reading Festival in August of '94. Cocker revealed that he had written the majority of the lyrics the night before the band's performance. He had trouble remembering on stage the following day. The band realized they had, quote, written something that had slight pretensions to anthemic and wanted to find a producer to give them a big sounding record. Veteran producer Chris Thomas, who was chosen, and the single was recorded in a 2-week period at the Townhouse in London. The group used all 48 tracks in the studio, filling them with a variety of sounds from keyboards and even a stylophone to create the anthemic sound they were looking for. I'm going to tell you right now, boys and girls, it's really, really rare to use all 48 tracks in that studio. Thomas remembered that the band were, quote, just coming up with stuff all the time. It was just trying things on here and there. In 2007, NME placed it as number 3 in the list of the 50 greatest indie anthems ever. In a poll by the Triple J in July of 2009, the Pulp original was placed at 81 in their hottest 100 of all time from over 500,000 votes cast. In September of 2010, Pitchfork listed it at number 2 on their list of the top 200 tracks of the 90s. In April of 2014, listeners of BBC Radio 6 voted it as their favorite Britpop song in an online poll conducted by the station to celebrate 20 years since the start of the Britpop era. And in 2014, Paste ranked it at number 1 in its list of the top 50 Brit songs ever. In 2015, Rolling Stone readers voted it the greatest Britpop song in a poll. That's by far the song I have the most research on, but if it's considered by many be the greatest Britpop song of all time, I had to do justice and tell you a lot about it. And also, I am very much aware that William Shatner did a cover of this, which was bizarre to me. It's actually not bad. I know that because a lot of people told us to check it out in the comments of the song reaction. Somebody actually brought it on one of our live streams we do on YouTube and Twitch. Check out that schedule below. Join us on one of those if you would like. But I did enjoy the Shatner, but it didn't touch this one. Common People. Okay, now I remember why I love that song. So that is a great song, and I don't throw around the great word very often here on RTTC. That is a high bar. I mean, everything on this track works, right? You can tell they used the 48 tracks once you know it's there. And I mean, just the instrumentation on here was, they had Russell Sr. on violin here, and you got Steve Mackey on the bass, Mark Webber on the electric guitars, and Candida Doyle was on the synths. You got Nick Banks, of course, on the drums and the tambourine. They brought in Ann Dudley to play piano. Of course, Jarvis is on vocals, organ, and acoustic guitar. Those lyrics are fire. And any of us who are, quote, common people, you know, if you're watching this and you're well off or you have money or you're rich or whatever word you want to use, that's great, man. I mean, more power to you. This is not an indictment on you at all. I've met people who have money who are very nice people. But for the most part, most of the people I've met in my life that have a very high degree of wealth, they're a little pretentious. They think they're a little better. So he's just talking out how he puts this in a nice way. You know, he meets this girl and she wants to live like the common people. But she told me that her dad was loaded. This is early on in verse 1. And I said, in that case, I'll have rum and Coca-Cola. She said, fine. So he was ordering something really nice, right? And then course one, she says, I want to live like common people. I want to do whatever common people do. I want to sleep with common people. I want to sleep with common people like you. That's the one where Jarvis said that did not happen. What else could I do? I said, I'll see what I can do. Yeah, really, Jarvis? I bet you did. So he took her to the supermarket, but she was smiling. He's like, no one else in here is. And then he asked her in course 2, you want to live like common people? You want to see whatever common people see? You want to sleep with common people? You want to sleep with common people like me? But she didn't understand, and she just smiled and held my hand. Then the bridge. Oh, rent a flat above a shop and cut your hair and get a job and smoke some and play some pool. Pretend you never went to school, but still you'll never get it right. So this is a great verses in here, because when you're laid in bed at night watching roaches climb the wall, if you called your dad, he could stop it all. Yeah, you'll never know what it's truly like to be down and out, right? Because you got a parachute over here that you can pull at any time. You're living a life. You're almost posing in a life, but that's not really your life, because you could stop it whenever. So yeah, you know, and then verse 4, he's just telling her, like a dog lying in the corner, they will bite you and never warn you. Look out, they'll tear your insides out, because everybody hates a tourist. The common people will know you're not a common person. You'll give it away. And because of that, they'll find it insulting and go after you. So yeah, just a great song. If you want to know more in depth, I got a lot more in depth, if I remember right. It was a long time ago, on the song reaction. Now we'll move on to another song I don't have anything on. Research-wise, I Spy. Wow, I Spy. A story of class warfare and, first and foremost, boys and girls, revenge. Greatly told story, very ominous in the build-up of the instrumentation throughout the first verse. I really enjoyed that. He just says, I spy a boy, I spy a girl, I spy the worst place in the world, in the whole wide world. Oh, you didn't do bad. You made it out, so he's telling this other guy. I'm still stuck here. Oh, but I'll get out. Oh, yeah, I'll get out. So you're like, okay, that's good. His friend got out. He's going to get out. But can't you see the giant that walks around you, seeing through your petty lives? Do you think I do these things for real? I do these things just so I survive. And I will survive. So they're judging him because he's having to do the things he's got to do to survive. At the very end of that verse, he says, I will prevail. I cannot fail because I spy. And then he's like, oh, I've got your number, taking notes. I know the ways your minds work. I've studied. Oh, and your minds are just the same as mine, except that you're clever swines. You'll never let your mask slip. You'll never admit to it. So they're every bit as bad, quote, as he is, but they just know how to hide it better. And then he says, and every night I hone my plan. How will I get my satisfaction? How will I blow your paradise away? Away, because I spy. And then he's talking about this other part about just, making critical notes in his head, and goes into all of that. Then he said, but hold on, you've got to wait for the best. You see, you should take me seriously, very seriously indeed, because I've been sleeping with your wife for the past 16 weeks, smoking your cigarettes, drinking your brandy, messing up the bed that you chose together in, and all that time, I just wanted you to come home unexpected one afternoon and catch us at it in the front room. So he just goes on and talks about those sorts of things, man. So just a really, really well done song, very well written song. Now we're up to the other song that I know. It's got a nice story to it. Disco 2000, third single, 7 in the UK. Tells the story of a narrator falling for a childhood friend called Deborah, who was more popular than he is, and wondering what it would be like to meet again when they were older. Jarvis based the lyrics on a girl he knew as a child and recalled, the only bit that isn't true is the wood chip wallpaper. He elaborated, there was a girl called Deborah. She was born in the same hospital as me. Not within an hour. It was like 3 hours, but you can't fit 3 hours into the song with having to really rush the singing. Basically, the whole thing was the same. I fancied her for ages. Then she started to become a woman, and her breasts began to sprout. So then all the boys fancied her. I didn't stand a cat in hell's chance, but then I used to sometimes hang around outside her house and stuff like that. Deborah was based on a real-life childhood friend of Cocker's, Deborah Bone, who moved away from Sheffield to Letchworth when she was 10. As the lyrics suggest, she did marry and have children. Bone later reflected, quote, my claim to fame is growing up and sleeping with Jarvis Cocker. Well, someone had to do it, and it was all perfectly innocent. I've been told and like to believe that I am the Deborah in the #1 hit Disco 2000, but we never did get to meet up by the fountain down the road. This took its inspiration from disco music. Drummer Nick Banks said of this influence, we are very much influenced by disco. Yeah, and of course in the late 80s we got into raves a bit, and music did take on more of a disco thump in places. That's a really good point. Yeah, I'm always going down the disco. I love it. Barry Walters of Spin magazine wrote, this band has quoted Disco Risk before, but the way it alludes here to Laura Branigan's Gloria approaches genius. And that was a very popular song, Gloria, when I was young. Let's check it out. Disco 2000. That song is so insanely catchy, man. Golly. I might like it more than common people. Can I say that, my UK friends? I don't know, man. He tells the story they're born within an hour of each other, and he thought they'd get married, but they never did. The chorus, let's all meet up in the year 2000. Won't it be strange when we're all fully grown? Be there 2 o'clock by the fountain down the road. I never knew you'd get married. I would be living down here on my own on that damp and lonely Thursday years ago. And then talking about how she matured and all the boys loved you, but I was a mess. I had to watch him try and get you undressed. So he loves this girl, and he's always loved her. Now these other guys are showing her attention, and she's going with them. So that is a tough thing. It repeats the chorus and the pre-chorus a bunch, which is fantastic because that is one of the reasons why it sticks in your head. The instrumentation on here is absolutely top-notch. Russell Sr. and Mark Webber on that guitar, and Candido, of course, on the keyboards. Mackie on the bass, and Nick Banks doing a great job on the drums. Throughout this, I always say this in Britpop, your drummer's got to be really good, and he's really good. Usually you're understated a little bit, but you're very good. All right, let's move on to Live Bed Show. Live Bed Show. Decent song. Not going to be among my favorites. Interesting subject matter. Basically, it's talking about this girl, I'm assuming, and she's just talking about her bed and how it says, she doesn't want to go to work, but she doesn't want to stay in bed. Then it really just talks about her bed, right? The Live Bed Show. That's apparently 7 years before her sex life was very good, and now it's boring and lonely. So that's kind of what the song just reflects on throughout the song. So like I said, interesting subject to write on. Now you see it below. We're down to Something Changed. Fourth and final single, 10 in the UK. Written much earlier in the band's existence, but revived for the different class sessions. It features lyrics that focused on the random nature as to how important events happen in life. According to guitarist Mark Webber, the song, quote, was an old song that Jarvis dredged up and we all dusted off. There's a rehearsal tape of a previous incarnation of Pulp attempting it circa 1984. Remember, this is 1995. Cocker explained it was originally written about 12 years ago. My sister sang an earlier version, but it had different words. It never got used, and then I just remembered it. Because it had been written such a long time ago, it made me wonder what I was doing then. And I worked out that it must have been written quite near to me meeting this girl. It's just wondering, really, if I hadn't gone out and met this particular person in this particular nightclub and formed a relationship with her, how different would my life have been? So it's not really about fate. It's more about the randomness of things, which I like. As I've said before, that's the main thing I feel is missing from my life. The worst thing about having a schedule and a timetable is there's less chance for unexpected things to happen. It's actually a great point. Weber himself contributed the song's guitar solo. He recalled, Something Changed is the first guitar solo I've sat and written, but I didn't let anyone else know about it until we went into the studio and did it. Cocker said of the song in 2020, that's the one Pulp song that seems to crop up. I've been stopped by a lot of people who tell me that song was played at their wedding. They walked down the aisle to it. Something Changed. Simple song, really just like he said about the randomness of things. What if he would have never met this girl? How would his life been different? I think we can all look at several points in our life of the randomness of something wouldn't happen. You know, it swirled our whole life off another direction. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. What I did enjoy in this, you actually have Russell Sr. playing acoustic guitar on here, because Jarvis, I've noticed, plays acoustic on a lot of songs, but the acoustic was a dominant instrument on here, right? It didn't sound like the standard Brit pop song, and a lot of these songs don't, and I think that's what makes them stand out. So did enjoy that one. Now we're going to move on to the last song that I have any sort of research for, Sorted for Ease and Wizz. Based lyrically on a phrase that Cocker overheard at a rave, the song features lyrics examining the hollow and artificial nature of drug culture. Because of its subject matter, the song sparked controversy in the UK, where several tabloids attacked the song. Just a reminder for you guys, I talked about this earlier, is released as a double A single with our first song, Misshapes, reaching number 2 in the UK. First performed at the Glastonbury Festival in 1995, where Jarvis explained his inspiration. He said, quote, Sorted for Ease and Wizz is a phrase a girl that I met in Sheffield once told me, and she went to see the Stone Roses, we got a couple reviews of them up, at Spike's Island, and I said, what do you remember about it? And she said, well, there were all these blokes walking around saying, is everybody sorted for ease and Wizz? And that's all she remembered about it, and I thought it was a good phrase. It was inspired by his ambivalence towards drugs. He once stated that he does not think there's anything big and clever about taking drugs. He said, the whole thing is trying to say is that no matter how great a time you have on drugs, you know that it's been artificially induced. You've introduced a chemical into your brain, and that's what makes it such a hollow experience. And of course, there's that other feeling, the idea that however great you're feeling, you want to make it that much better. You're searching for that illusionary thing where you're always trying to get back to that state, but you know you never will. And you start to see through it. Notice how it's a bit frayed at the edges, and that's what this song's about. Drugs aren't a magical thing, just chemicals that leave you feeling hollow. And guitarist Mark Webber, who disliked the song and wanted to replace it with Mile End, later said, I didn't want Sorted on the album. I think it's a rubbish song. On its commercial success, Webber said, Sorted sold more than Common People, but you really wouldn't think so. But it's just nowhere near as good a song. Wow. Sorted for Ease and Wizz. Of course, Ease mean ecstasy, and Wizz is a street name for speed. And he's just basically taught the chorus. In the middle of the night, it feels all right, but then tomorrow morning, ooh, then you come down. Like he was saying, it's great for a minute. It's great for a while, but then you come down and you just want to get that feeling again. And that's how people get addicted, boys and girls. So I like that a lot. I thought the soundscape of that was very interesting. I thought the keyboards were really nice on there, but I'm glad they included it. See it below. We're going to go to Feeling Called Love, although it's all spelled out, so I'm assuming he's going to spell it out in the song. But for brevity purposes, I'll just say Feeling Called Love. Feeling Called Love. Really interesting song. Man, there's a lot going on in this song, right? Jarvis speaks at times instead of sings, and all kinds of different soundscapes going on. It's a 6-minute song, but a lot of times in Brit pop, you get just, the same sound for those 6 minutes, which is fine. But this has varying things going on. I really did enjoy it. It really did surprise me. I don't know if it's going to end up on my faves. I think this is one of those songs that the more you hear it, the more you like it. So that was a good one. Now we'll go on to the song Underwear. Jarvis said about this song during a live show in October of 94, quote, "This is about going home with someone, which seems like a good thing to do when you decide to do it. But when you get to the actual nitty gritty, when you are actually standing in your underwear, you think, I can't go through with this. But how do you get out of that situation?" Underwear. So from the way he introduced it at that concert in 94, he's just flipped it. So it's the girl standing there realizing, that while the event's about to happen, that she made a mistake and she wants to get out of there. If fashion is your trade, then when you're naked, I guess you must be unemployed. Yeah, but once it's underway, there's no escaping the fact that you're a girl and he's a boy. So just putting yourself in a situation, but you can always get out of it. I couldn't stop it now, the chorus. There's no way to get out. He's standing far too near, and how the hell did you get here? Semi-naked in somebody else's room. I'd give my whole life to see it. Just, you stood there only in your underwear. I want to see. Oh, so, a nice little soundscape to that one. To Monday Morning. Nobody likes those. Monday Morning tells the story of this girl who gets out of school and gets into her job and finds out that life is monotonous, right? So she's waiting to party every weekend, but even that gets monotonous. But it starts out, there's nothing to do, so you just stay in bed. Oh, poor thing. Why live in the world when you can live in your head? And you can go out late from Monday till Saturday turns into Sunday, and now we're back here at Monday, so you can do it all over again. Then part of I want a refund, I want a light, I want a reason to make it through the night, all right? And so you finally left school, so now what are you going to do? Now you're so grown up, yeah, you're so mature. There's a lot of what the other songs has, a lot of differentiation, some speaking in there, you can almost feel Jarvis's authoritative voice telling her things. And I found this to be true myself. I was in a very big hurry to get out of college, or uni, as you guys call it in the UK. And then once I did, I got about 2 months into my first job, and I'm like, wow, man, this is what I was in a hurry for? This is what the rest of my life is going to be? I mean, you get used to it. It's not the end of the world, but you realize you shouldn't have been in such a hurry. It's not all that it's cracked up to be boys and girls to grow up all the time. Now we'll go to Bar Italia, which I see is a bar in Soho, London, that is popular, or was then at least, with many people. Bar Italia finishing this album off, and when I went into it, I was thinking bar, like alcohol bar, but it's a coffee bar, man. And they're kind of talking how they're there now if you can stand, so they must be drunk, high, something. I would like to take you by the hand, and go for a walk past people as they go to work. So maybe they've been up all night. Let's get out of this place before they tell us that we've just died. Oh, move quick. You've got to move. Come on, it's through. Come on, it's time. Oh, look at you. You're looking so confused. Just what did you lose? Oh, and then he's asking for an order. 2 sugars would be great because I'm fading fast and it's nearly dawn. So just basically a song about, we're going down to the coffee bar and getting a little high. Nice little vocal there by Jarvis. He did a great job on this album. And on that note, we're going to get to my favorite tracks. My honorable mention is going to be Something Changed. The 7th track on here, just because I like the acoustic part of it, has a different soundscape. My faves, they're going to be cliched, right? But they're going to be Misshapes, Common People, and Disco 2000. Those last 2 songs are iconic because they're fantastic, man. They're that way for a reason. Now we're going to get to my overall score on the album. I really enjoyed this album. There's a lot of differentiation on here. Like a lot of Oasis's albums, nothing against them. I love Oasis. They sound the same, right? There's a consistency to it. There's a lot of distorted guitar and just ongoing. This had so much differentiation between songs, different soundscapes, different writing styles. Almost sometimes we were attacking things that were really serious. Sometimes we were attacking lighthearted stuff. So I really did enjoy that. I thought everybody did a great job on the musicianship side of it. So overall, I'm going to be in an 8.5, which is a sky high for a 12-track, 53-minute album. Really enjoyed it. First time hearing it. It's probably going to grow me. I will listen to this some more. So as always, thank you, Brian. Thank you for all the patrons who support us. If you like sports in any way, like Brian does, check out the Patreon link below or the link on the end screen, where I'll also put another video you may enjoy if you enjoyed this one. Until next time, guys, I will see you.